As a Catholic, I have to deal with the fact that not every Christian is Catholic. Now, I believe that true Christianity is in its fullness found in the Catholic faith and the Catholic faith alone. And you cannot be saved outside of the Catholic Church. Now, we can make another video on what all that means some other time, but today I would like to talk about some of the Protestant YouTube channels that I actually like to watch and I think would be good for some of my Catholic friends to also watch. Protestants, a lot of them, I think most of them mean well. I think most of them, they genuinely care about our well-being as Catholics. I think a lot of them truly, truly believe that Catholics might be going to hell, or that Catholics are not real Christians, or Catholics worship Mary, or different things like that. So it's important to learn what these Protestants believe, why they believe them. And the channels I'm going to talk about today deal with some of those Protestants that I guess most of us don't want to always deal with, but you should listen to them and take heed to what they say. As always, guys, though, before I get into the video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below, because you liking and subscribing is the best way to support the videos that I do, and is the best way to help me continue to make these kind of videos, because YouTube sees that you all like them. Let's shoot for 2,000 followers. You all know me. I'm Jesse. I talk everything travel, everything living in the Philippines when it comes to being a Catholic. And I talk about relationship stuff sometimes too, because of my relationship with my fiance. So let's get into the video now. All right, I would say, as you guys know, everything I do is unscripted. I don't really use a script, so these are just off the top of my head. But the very first one I could think of that I highly suggest people to go and subscribe to is Redeem Zoomer. Redeem Zoomer is probably my favorite Protestant YouTube channel. I like his definition of Protestantism. I don't use it all the time, and I probably should. His definition of Protestantism is more traditional, I guess you could say. He has this idea that Protestantism goes back to the ideas and beliefs of the Reformers. And he's a Presbyterian. John Calvin, I think John Calvin is like one of the people who John Calvin. I don't know how else to put it, but he doesn't believe in solo scriptura. He believes that creeds are important and that the church should have a creed. One of the things that I think that he's really trying to do is to bring the Reformed Church back to how it used to be. Because like every other church, and I hate to say it, even the Catholic Church, although we don't officially teach it, there are some who are trying to push for it. He strongly believes that some of these modern ideas like same-sex marriage, abortion, homosexuality, all that stuff, the trans issue, he is firmly against it. And I like it. He's a younger guy. I think he might be Gen Z. He's really good, though. I like his videos. I genuinely think he tries his best to represent things in the right way. I love his videos on even some of the stuff he says about Catholics. I remember one video he did where he was saying if he was going to be Catholic or Orthodox, which one would he ultimately choose? And ultimately it came down to Catholic. He said he would never do that, but if in some weird parallel universe, I guess. But who knows, maybe by God's grace he will one day. He's a really smart guy, really down to earth, and I genuinely think that he cares about Catholics. I've seen him dialogue with Catholics. Him and Trent Horn, they do videos together. He'll make a video about Catholics. Trent Horn will make a video and send him the script to make sure that everything was right, that he was refuting his actual arguments. It's really nice. His videos are good. And it's not just about being Catholic. He talks about some of the heresies in the churches. I've seen some videos where he's done that. He's talked about some of the problems with Protestantism. He's talked about some of the problems with Catholicism. He talks about all kinds of things, and I really like that about him. So out of all of these channels, Redeem Zoomer is probably the #1 channel I highly recommend you check out. Number 2, I also really like William Lane Craig. Now, William Lane Craig, I'm not sure what kind of church he goes to. He might be a Baptist, but he's not really focused on Catholic versus Protestant. He's more focused on theism versus atheism. He's a great debater. I have seen probably 20, 30 of his debates he's done, and he is superb at it. He was the first person I ever listened to that wasn't a Catholic debate an atheist. The first person I listened to debate an atheist, I think, was Bill Donahue with Christopher Hitchens, and Bill Donahue is a Catholic. So William Lane Craig, though, he's not a Catholic, and it was his videos actually that helped me understand why it's more reasonable to be a theist or a Christian actually over an atheist. The reason I started listening to William Lane Craig was actually back in 2014, I think. Pretty sure it was 2014. It was my last year in college, the first time I went. There was this big debate between Bill Nye and the young Earth creationist, Ken Ham. And I went to Southern Baptist University. Most of these people really strongly believed that the Earth was 10,000 years old. And I watched that debate, and I was not at all satisfied with Ken Ham's answers, his responses. I thought Bill Nye did a much better job. I thought Bill Nye was a little too hostile, though, compared to Ken Ham. I didn't like Bill Nye's attitude that much, but I try to put personalities aside, and it was those two that debated that got me thinking, wait, so theist and atheist can debate each other? And that led me to another guy named Kent Hovind, who he's a great debater too, but he debates young Earth creationism, and he's sharp. He's very sharp. I think he is very intelligent. I don't agree with what he's saying, but he's very intelligent, and he's a very good communicator. But that then led me to the atheist versus theist debates, where I learned about William Lane Craig. And I remember in college, I had the old iPod, like the original one that had 132 gigs, I think, or 164 or something like that. And I downloaded every single debate I could find with Craig, Dr. Craig in it. And I would go to sleep listening to some of these things. I'd walk around campus listening to them. When I was going to class, I would put it in so I could listen to a little bit before I get to class. I was constantly listening to these debates. And he's very sharp. And most of the time, he uses the same basic arguments, and they just never get refuted. So, yes, I highly recommend Dr. Craig, William Lane Craig, on YouTube as well. I also, number 3, I also recommend checking out Frank Turek. I can't remember off the top of my head. Cross-Examined. Cross-Examined. His channel is called Cross-Examined. And he is also, like Dr. Craig, he debates atheists. He used to be an atheist, if I remember correctly. And I think he was also a lawyer. I think it was him that was a lawyer. Or he looked at things from a legalistic kind of way, in that he tries to say, we don't have absolute proof that theism and Christianity is real or true, but if you took it to a court of law, it's more reasonable to believe that Christianity is true than to believe that it is false. And I like that kind of thinking. I don't know if you guys know, but the first time I went to college, when I first got in, my major was criminal justice with a minor in biblical languages, but it was because I wanted to go to law school afterward. I switched it to a double major, criminal justice and political science, and then I kept switching it and eventually ended up with a double major in criminal justice and psychology. But my plan was to go to law school. I was convinced not to by one of my professors, who said there were too many lawyers and not enough jobs, and I hate myself for that every day. But he goes at it like that. He goes at it like a court of law. What is more reasonable to believe? And I like that kind of thinking. It's very logical. It's a good way to see the world. It's something I wish more people would do, was sit and weigh the options before they rush into their decision. This is why with politics, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not right or left. I kind of, do my own thing. I weigh the options on everything I can, and then I come up with my own opinions. And that is also why I'm very Catholic too, though. So all of it comes together quite nicely. I'm a theist and a Christian, and in particular a Catholic Christian, and it's all because of things that just make more sense than anything else, in my opinion. I didn't really have that all burning feeling that everybody says in the Protestant. Well, if you're listening, Redeemed Zoomer, sorry, not really the Protestant. I guess maybe some Protestants, but like the offshoots of the Protestants, like the Southern Baptists and whatnot. I didn't really get that burning feeling. I actually built up a logical reason to why I believe what I believe. So yeah, check him out too, because he's very good at dealing with atheism in particular. Number 4, I don't know how many of y'all know this guy, but he's from Oxford, Dr. Lennox. You should check him out. He's got a good YouTube channel. He is a mathematician, I think. And I heard about Dr. Lennox again through debates. I watched a debate with William Lane Craig, and YouTube gives you the suggestions, and the suggestion popped up of one with Dr. Lennox and Christopher Hitchens. And Dr. Lennox blowed Christopher Hitchens out of the water in that debate. And he did the same with Richard Dawkins. I really like Dr. Lennox. He's a very smart man. He's a wise man. He's an older guy. And he comes at it with a mathematician's brain. Like, it just mathematically, it makes more sense to be a theist. And he talks about the probabilities and all of that great stuff. And so, all 3 of those kind of build on each other. William Lane Craig, Dr. Craig, Frank Turek, and Dr. Lennox. I don't know if Frank Turek is a doctor or not, but those 3 really build on each other quite nicely. And I highly recommend, because I don't think any of them are Catholic, but they're very, very good at dealing with the problem of atheism. And then number 5, this one's going to be controversial. This one I want to throw in here because you need to know what some of the very anti-Catholic people are saying. Alpha and Omega Ministries. I've talked before about Dr. White, who is, I think he's the leader of Alpha and Omega Ministries, maybe something like that. He is very, I would say, anti-Catholic. Some of the things he says, they're different. They're a bit harsh, and I don't agree with almost anything he says. I think that he sometimes purposely misrepresents what the church teaches. Sometimes it's not so much as what he says, it's how he says it to lead you to believe something else. It's the same thing that Christopher Hitchens did. God rest his soul. Same thing he used to do in his debates. He would say things in a way that could be true, but the way he says them, it leads you to believe something else. And actually, the debate he had with Bill Donahue did a great job of pointing that out. But anyhow, I think Dr. White does that in a lot of debates. However, I do think it would be wise to watch some of his stuff and to learn what he's saying about Catholics. Now, he doesn't always talk about Catholics, but he does talk about Catholics a lot. With that being said, though, he has made some really good arguments against the people who believe the King James only version of the Bible is the only correct interpretation. He's made some amazing arguments for that. He has done so good with debating about the Trinity. In fact, my favorite debate against INC was from Dr. White. He's so controversial, especially in the Catholic circles, but some of his stuff is very, very solid. He wrote a book about the Trinity. I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head because I haven't read it. But it was even endorsed by Father Pacwa, I'm pretty sure. He's hardcore Trinitarian. And so he's such a confusing figure to me. I feel like if he was Catholic, he would be such a good Catholic. But he's went for this more radical idea of Protestantism and this idea about how Catholics are bad and whatnot, or what Catholics believe are bad. I don't think he necessarily says Catholics are bad, I'll be honest. I've never heard him say once that a Catholic is a bad person. I think he believes their beliefs are bad. or not good for the soul. That they're wrong. They're wrong. Okay, there we go. They're wrong. So I don't want to misrepresent him. Check him out though. He does some really great videos on the Trinity. He does some great videos on Islam, King James only controversy. I think he may have even debated atheists before. I'm not sure, because I focus more on his debates with Catholics, but I also focus on a lot of his debates that he's had with the Trinity. Oh yeah, homosexuality. He's debated that with the heretic Matthew Vines, and things like that. So those are my top 5 Protestant accounts I recommend you follow. I follow every single one of them. I don't always get updates. I think I have too many I've subscribed to so many people. I think they get buried in the updates. The only one I see constantly now is Redeemed Zoomers. I don't really see much more from Alpha and Omega, so I'm not sure how often Dr. White's posting. Every maybe once a month I see something from Dr. Craig. I don't really see anything from Dr. Lennox, and sometimes I see something from Cross Examined because I like debates. But there you go, guys. That is my list. I think that you would do well to watch, or at least subscribe to one, if not all of them. And if I had to pick one, definitely subscribe to Redeemed Zoomer. He's a really good guy. You can almost hear it in his voice. There's something about him that is very genuine. I don't know how else to put it. There's something about him I find very, very genuine. And it's the way he says things. I really seriously think he cares and he does his research. So go check him out if you can. Go check out the other ones if you can. They're great to listen to. They're great to watch. And it might challenge you a little bit. And that's okay. It's okay to have your faith challenged, because then you have to find a way to defend your faith. And that's why I've always listened to atheist and theist debate, or I've listened to Catholics and Protestants, or I've listened to Catholics or Christians and Muslims, and INC Christians and INC, because INC is not Christian. I've listened to all those kinds of things because I want my faith to be challenged. And I want to know how to deal with those challenges. That's the only way you will grow and develop in your faith, I think. Now, I may be wrong. Who knows? But that's how I like to deal with it. And I'm not the best speaker, so I don't go on here and try to debate people because I suck at speaking. You guys, I'm probably going to edit like 100 things out of this video. It's at 20 minutes now, and I've stuttered a lot. But especially and I say a lot, but when I get excited about being Catholic or talking about stuff like that, sometimes I do stutter because I just get so excited. Which reminds me of a debate, but I'm lingering on. Anyhow, you guys, thank y'all for watching. Let me know in the comments, is there a favorite Protestant that you like to listen to, or do you think it's wrong that we listen to Protestants? Just let me know something. Let us know who you think I should listen to. Maybe you're Protestant and you have a suggestion for me. Send them my way. I'd love to listen to things like that. And of course, as always, guys, know that y'all are valuable and that you matter. God bless and peace.